Hey everybody, this is Spence, aka Doc from Omni Defense Corps. Just wanted to have a little show today, a little talk about some recent news in Eve Online. It's been a while since I've done this, so please forgive me if it doesn't come out uh, very polished, but it's kind of just an informal talk. Some things I've noticed lately popping up in the news and whatnot, some hypotheticals and such that we just need to keep on the horizon or on our that are on the horizon that we need to keep in mind moving forward in Eve Online since we kind of started this new corporation and you might hear my dog squeaking in the background. Don't mind her. It's a husky. She don't know to shut up. but with some very serious changes coming to Eve Online from CCP, and wanted to talk a little bit about it. So it is October 3rd, Saturday, October 3rd, 2020, and it has honestly been since I've done a full podcast about 2.5 years since I've done a full blown Z Eve Online podcast. So again, my apologies if it doesn't come out 100% coherent and polished. I got to kind of get back into my groove. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about what is coming down the pipe from CCP. In 9 days, we will have the new ore distribution system hitting this the next phase of CCP's attempt to quote unquote balance the game to make loss a more impactful thing. So if you lose a ship due to the fact that the logistical supply chain of raw materials is being altered, it will have their theory on this is that a loss will be felt more and that there's going to be more interdependence upon different types of players in Eve. So with this ore redistribution, high security space basically becomes tritanium space. That's it. It's going to be tritanium space. A bunch of the ore is then going to a bunch of the minables are going to be in low sec, and then null sec will also have theirs. We are losing in high sec, where I've spent most of my time lately. Those of you who have listened to the show in the past know I spent most of my um, 16 years, 15 years playing this game. Well, yeah, over 16 years now. 2004, July 5th, 2004 is when I made this guy you're looking at here, Aridus. So I spent most of my time playing this game in low security space, and a good chunk of that in faction warfare. That was kind of my thing. Um, but now with these changes, um, the whole balance of how things happen in Eve is going to shift. We have been talking here at ODC, which we're a newer corporation made up of vets and new bros, and we've been trying to find a good balance now that these changes are coming out. To where are we going to fit into this new world of New Eden as things change? There's already been the disruption of the Silk Road with Niarja being taken and Rarivos by the Triglavians. So that has kind of cut the road from to Jeddah from part of the map, and has caused, if you don't want to jump through quote unquote dangerous space and get blapped as you come through Niarja, then you have to do 44 jumps around through safe space just to make that happen. Well, with that, and then this new ore thing coming up, it's really going to put a damper on a number of people's established gameplay. We are losing ore anomalies in high sec. They will go away. Those neat little green emblems on your screen that tell you that there's some jaspit or hegdebarite or whatever else in the area that you can go mine for cash and prizes are going to go away. Ice is apparently going to be redistributed as well. They haven't really, as far as I can see, talked too much about that. So that's a thing. We'll talk about that in a minute. And with the loss of tritanium, belts of tritanium, Veldspar or whatnot, in low sec or in null sec, that is going to mean the nullsecers are either going to have to rely on ore anomalies where they will have it, which won't produce enough for what they need. I forget what the thing said. Somebody can correct me and if they need to, but if I'm wrong, but I think it said something like most of the Veldspar and whatnot ore anomalies in nullsec will be limited to like 500,000 units. Well, 500,000 units is going to produce a few million units of titanium, which isn't going to do jack for these large industrial requirements that the big alliances need. So that being said, we need to the players need to figure out the new supply chain, the new logistical thing that's going to happen, this new method of play. We've been talking about in ODC about okay, we're probably going to do contracts. We're gonna get in touch with groups that are looking for titanium, and we will mine by contract, and then we will provide shipping through our shipping partner to a hub in low sec close to a null sec gate so that they can come pick it up, and we'll just do it by contract. That's all well and good for a little bit of money here and there, but what's really going to throw a wrench into that is some of the discussion happening uh, amongst a lot of the nullsec alliances, which is if this happens the way it seems like it is on the 12th, there's going to be some major issues for high sec mining groups. And at first I was kind of trying to be on board with this, like, okay, I see what they're trying to do. Okay, we can operate on contracts. This might create an opportunity for us to make ISK as a corporation. We could do things more like an actual company instead of just mining and stockpiling a resource that never decays. And then when we have an opportunity to sell it in a bubble, we'll sell it. And we'll mine it and we'll sell it. We'll mine it. We'll sell it. And there'll always be buyers at some point or another. Well, the problem with that is that my mindset at that time was taking out of the equation the fact that all of these guys that have mining alts and whatnot down in nullsec, their industry alts, are probably going to just come to high sec, and when they do, knowing the way a lot of these groups operate, they're going to kind of, for lack of a better phrasing, they're going to kind of wreck it for the small guy. They're going to come up here and they're going to mine the belts and they're going to do what we do, but on a larger scale. In other words, when we have a mining op, it takes us, I don't know, X amount of minutes to chew through an entire belt of ore from, I mean, taking everything, the Veldspar, the Scordite, the Pyrox, whatever. We just take all of it. We start at one end and we lawnmower to the other. We go, the hauler comes out, picks up the ore, and we move on to the next belt, and we just keep doing that until we either get bored or there's no more belts in our home area to do this. So that being said, that's a group of 12 of us, a dozen of us doing that. So on any given night, if the low sec guys are going to come up, or the null sec guys, pardon me, the null sec guys come up, who are super organized in what they do. They tend to be a higher caliber of organized player. Not always, but for the most part, they usually got a plan at least. They're going to come up and they're going to come hit these belts and they're just going to chew through them in no time. And any fleet in their way is either going to be, kind of evicted, or they're going to be taken care of in not a good sense. They're going to be moved out, right? So that's what's going to happen, or they're going to get totally blue balled. There's always the chance that fleets, corps that have established themselves in a certain area and they mine that area and they've been doing it for a long time. So that's they have a pattern, they have a thing. It's safe. They can sit around and have little Discord Netflix parties and mine the belt, and somebody's running back and forth and they're just chewing through those belts, and the occasional NPC rat pops in and the drones take it out. It's gonna change, because now if the I don't know, the goon alts, I'm just using them as an example because the Imperium's huge. The goon alts come in and they decide that this is now their area to mine so that they can ship that ore to nullsec to use it. Then all the little corps that are out there doing their thing are going to get pushed aside, and if they don't like it, then tough shit. So That's, I mean, and this isn't me just speculating on this. This is, I'm watching comments on Reddit. I'm watching, op-eds, and then the comments on Imperium.news. I'm watching in-game local, and this is what's kind of being talked about already. Like, well, if this is what happens, this is what we're gonna do, because they're not gonna just totally cut off their supply. They're just gonna shift how they do it. Okay, so that's something for the small guys, the small and medium mining corps to keep in mind is either you're going to get pushed aside, you're going to get destroyed, or you're going to get absorbed. And when I say destroyed, if those guys out there that are thinking, oh, well, we're not war deckable, they can't do anything to us. Well, yeah, they can. Watch the suicide gank rate's going to go sky high on mining ships in high sec here in about 9 days. It's going to start. At first, there might be a little feeling it out, figuring it out, but then it's going to happen. The low sec's not going to be much different. You've got established pirate groups and whatnot, or little tiny clans down in low sec that have camped their area, and unless you got their permission to do something down there, or maybe you're paying for a license to mine, then they're going to harass you. Well, when these nullsec groups come up and they decide we need the whatever out of this area, the Noxium. I don't know. I don't even know if Noxium's going to be there, if that's a low sec thing. But I'm just saying, we need this particular component, and it comes from low sec. Then they're just going to go ahead and move into an area that has what they need, or ice or whatever, and they're just going to take it over. And the low sec being the quote unquote wild west, well, now it's going to become more like, you know, Eastern Europe, or, Central Africa, because there's going to be a group that moves in and just decides this is now our area. If you don't like it, tough shit, move on out or assimilate. And that's what it's going to be. And you got to remember, guys, there's thousands of players in nullsec. Right now, they're not bad guys. This is not like a high sec versus null sec thing. A lot of times the null sec guys say that they get kind of big balls and they're like, you fucking Care Bears and blah 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 blah. But a lot of the things they sell are bought by these rich players that just kind of hang out in high sec and collect things, and run the occasional mission and just sit in station and spin their pretty ships. Right? That's it. They just sit there and they do that. But without that market happening, it's gonna affect everyone. Without that avenue to sell, it's going to affect everyone. And one guy put it pretty succinct. It was a comment on an op-ed on the Imperium News Network, sorry, INN, and Matani's pet news agency. That said, imagine Hulkageddon and Burn Jitta, but everywhere and every day. It's just every time miners pop out with their mining ships to head toward a belt, they're an instant target. It's like it kind of turns high sec into low sec at that point. So keeping that in mind, I'm not trying to paint this totally grim picture, but either things are going to have to change on CCP's end, and they're going to have to adjust this, or there's going to have to be some severe changes in how people operate in high sec. It used to be before you really never had to bring a combat air patrol with you to fly around your fleet for security. Now it's looking more likely. And even then, just having a couple guys on patrol waiting to protect your mining fleet, that could actually make it a more lucrative target. As a lot of the nullsec guys just want to have a good fight. That's why they go out there and they play those games, is so they can have those battles. Well, if they can get that in high sec, it's going to be more tempting for them, right? Whereas your average high sec player isn't looking for a quote unquote good fight. They just want to bust rocks and kill NPC drones, and then they want to have their shiny things, sell things, and move out. Move out when they want to, move to do something else. So it's going to be interesting, and I can't say that I am 100% convinced that now that it's going to be a good thing. Okay, this is gonna be an interesting time. A lot of the feedback we're getting from more, other vets out there is they're a little worried about this. They're a little worried how this is going to go. And this isn't industrialists or just high sec Care Bears. This is even people in Null. They're not just like, yeah, we're going to get to go to high sec and f with a bunch of Care Bears. This is fantastic. It's more like you're telling me that now I have to completely shift my operations that we've built up over, some people have built over years to get it set up, and that's all there is to it. Like, tough shit, this is what you got to do. It's kind of lore breaking at the same time. All right, it's first of all, that's going to hurt the player base. Second of all, it's lore breaking. How can they possibly explain in the lore that all of a sudden all of the Pyroxers and all of these other, all the Jaspits suddenly disappeared from Empire space when it's been here for, a decade, over a decade and a half? Why did it just disappear? It really doesn't make sense. That isn't truly a rebalance or a redistribution. It's more like it's turning off a significant portion of a part of the sandbox. It's just turning it off. So, again, I'm kind of, as this has been going, the more I've been reading up on this, I've been getting a little more negative in my view of what's going to happen. And, it's not, it's already affecting so much of gameplay because, I mean, so many people are worried about it and not sure how this is going to affect, this game that we love to play. So, CCP hasn't been exactly very forthcoming with it as well. The CSM, who um, CCP notoriously doesn't keep in the loop on big things, which, I mean, why even have it? It's for show at this point if you're not even, bringing these guys in the loop on this stuff. But they've done that before. Um, I remember when I ran for the CSM many moons ago, trying to run on like the faction warfare ticket. It was the same thing. The whole reason why I wanted to do that was because I thought maybe I can, I would have a voice in the way faction warfare was being turned into this kind of, it used to be shitty and then it was real good and then they made it shitty again. And I wanted to try to stave that off. And after talking with, a lot of big name folks in the Eve community who had been on the Council of Stellar Management multiple times, they were basically like, "It ain't worth it, man. They're not gonna change the way they do things. We're a showpiece." I was like, "Oh well, that sucks." I always thought that was cool that, CCP brought a council of players in that were voted in by the players to give them solid feedback on things for the game. And it was, for the most part, it was mostly people that had a good grasp of the game and had good ideas. But now that's we see the truth of it. Um, Again, I'm not trying to sound all negative here. There could be some opportunities here for many people. There could be. I'm not too sure how that's going to work yet. Um, Talking and shifting off of that topic for just a little bit, but going toward the big war that's happening in nullsec right now. Um, there was an article on INN. It was an op-ed called "The Art of War: World War B and the Imperium" by Greydock, and this came out about 5 days ago. About 5 days ago, and something that was interesting was about this. He kind of gave three scenarios of how this could go, which was the first one is complete devastation and the Imperium destroyed. So those of you out there who are goon haters, thinking that this war will just totally destroy the goons and then that's it, they're out of the game. They're all going to go play Eve Echoes, or they're going to, load up that stupid game that the kids are playing now, where you're like pointing the finger at each other of who killed who. It's like, I don't know, Clue in a game, whatever it's called, Among Us or some shit. My daughter plays it. I don't know. It looks stupid to me. But thinking that that's just what's going to happen and they're all going to just go away, that's not what happens. That's not how this game works. We've seen that before. When the goons took a whooping in the casino war, they just kind of, stepped back a little bit, refocused, rebuilt, and then came right back again. And that's what they do. They're good at that. They're organized like that, and they're dedicated to each other because that's just how they are. Okay. Um, so he talks a little bit about that. The Grey Doc talks about that. The next hypothetical stalemate scenario he talks about, the Imperium holds Delve and kind of everything just stops, and this becomes just kind of a wet fart, and that's it, and everything flits off and everybody goes their separate ways, right? So that was it. That'll be it. That's a theory as well. And then there's of course the counteroffensive where the goons come back and the test dinosaur falls to the stinging of so many little bees, and they push that way. But something that was brought up in the comments that I wanted to point out real quick. Let me scroll down a little bit here. I had it up there a minute ago. So somebody was talking about how, even if the Imperium's area were to fall, if Delve were to fall, then they're going to be getting pings on structures, for the next until Christmas. And one guy said, he said Christmas. The guys, somebody named Arendis, said Christmas. There's 4,330 moons in Delve. That's 12,990 timers just in Athenors. So just thinking about the cleanup that would have to be done if the goons were to totally whiff this and have to give up Delve, it's going to be months of cleanup down there. Months of cleanup. So like this is not like a World of Warcraft PvP match and it's going to be over, lickety split and that's it. The goons are gone and somebody moves in. This is literally like evicting someone from a country. They've have the infrastructure that would take forever to take it out. So okay, sorry about the little pause in the recording there. My wife came and opened the door to my office to let the dogs in because they wanted to come in here, not realizing that I was recording. So I apologize for that. There's probably a little like 10-second gap there where I had to pause and get up and go do something. So I apologize for that, guys. Again, I'm not going to edit this. This is going to go up raw. So you're going to hear all the little ums and uhs and mistakes and shit that I do. So that's pretty much the coverage on the war aspect there that I wanted to go over, just kind of keeping people in the loop. But something that we've been seeing up in a number of area in high sec lately is there's a lot more traffic through areas that generally used to be quiet. Okay, that there were quieter areas of the map where industrialists and whatnot would, again, they would mine. People can go there and zero point 0.8 space or whatever, zero point 0.7 space, and they can mine and do their thing, and nobody bothered them. There's even a couple ice belts that were, I mean, generally not getting hit very often. Which ice belts are like magnets for gankers, and there's some that just they're pretty quiet. Well, lately that is not true. We're seeing a lot more activity here in high sec, all sides of it. It doesn't matter where you're at, because I think that's the null sectors kind of preparing, and like we talked about before, about maybe getting some of their alts moved up here or starting to try to find areas where they're going to base their operations and so on and so forth. So we're seeing a lot more of that traffic. Where I'm noticing on our Discord, we've got some killboard pings that we do in certain zones, certain traffic zones, so we can see if someone's coming near our area, if there's activity, so we don't have to constantly go back and forth to Dotland. And it gives us a heads up if someone's did they just die because they were silly and not paying attention and they were in a dead space area, or were they actually PvP down in their procurer, or what was it? So it kind of gives us that little glimpse of what's going on. And we've been noticing lately there is a lot more PvP activity happening in certain areas that used to be extremely quiet. So that's just something to keep your eyes out for if you're up in high sec and you're trying to be an AFK miner or whatever. You're now a target even more than you were before. If you're a bot miner, screw you. I hope you get destroyed. But if you're an AFK miner, somebody kind of puts the Netflix on, or they're cooking dinner while they're doing a little mine in here and there, you're gonna need to put some more eyes on the screen lately. That's gonna have to happen. It's just gonna have to happen. If you're not doing that, there's going to be issues for you coming up. There's going to be a lot more going on. So, oh, I guess I don't have a certain chip here that I was looking for. So keeping that in mind, for those guys in like our corporation here, ODC, we're going to be shifting our doctrine, shifting our tactics to be a little more defensive as we're moving forward over the next 9 days, hopefully setting up for what's going on. Um, There may even be some suspension of mining ops as we watch things. Maybe we'll just do a little mission running for the time being and just for a few days and just kind of see what happens. We'll be doing some roams to look for targets of opportunity. That's a definite, meaning that we'll be hopping in our PvP ships and doing some testing the waters of certain low sec areas that we've identified already as possible hotspots, just to see if we can get a little bit of action and see how it goes. But for the most part, it's definitely a wait and see for many people, and that includes us. So we will see what happens with that. For our newer folks, remember that this doesn't mean oh, things are stopping, they're we're quitting the game. No, none of that. Most of us have already talked and said it doesn't matter what the changes are coming down here. We're just gonna have to find a way to adapt, and that'll be that. We'll just find a way to adapt. If you find yourself getting frustrated with this game, I don't care what corporation you're in, what alliance you're in, what type of space you fight in. If you're a wormholer, they're about to have some really bad days coming up, which wormhole residents know is the norm for them. It's just they constantly get shat upon. But if this game ever starts getting to the point that it's annoying and it's actually grating on your nerves, take a step back, take a couple days off, go play something else, go read a book, go hang out with the family, go outside in the sunlight if you can, do things like that. But keep in touch with your boys on Discord so they know that you're still alive, and eventually you're coming back. But sometimes you do gotta take an Eve breather. We've all done it. We've all stepped away from this game at one time or another, and if you haven't, it's gonna come, and if you don't, you're gonna get too frustrated because it's like any other game. I mean, nobody plays World of Warcraft nonstop unless you're somehow, I don't know, you either have the patience of a saint or you're brain dead. But every game you got to step away from for a little bit. You can't eat chicken every day and be happy. So sometimes you got to have some steak or a nice pork chop. So, or a burger, or a nice burger. But just keep in mind these changes that are coming, they're probably not 100% game breaking. We have had things that CCP has thrown out to us in the past that are, everyone is saying that's going to be game breaking, that's going to ruin everything. And then it turns out that after a while, everybody kind of adapted to it. So just keep that in mind. It's all in how you roll with the changes. If you've always been looking to get more into small gang PvP, this is probably going to be a prime time to do that for you. This is going to facilitate this big change coming up. So go ahead and stockpile yourself some ships. We're going to be putting out some SRP doctrines. That's the ship replacement program. Most good corps and most good alliances have them. If you're flying a doctrine ship on a operation that is sanctioned by your corporation/alliance, and you lose that ship, then they're going to replace it for you for free. So keep that in mind. If you're doing things with your group, I mean, Eve is a 100% social game. Everyone who tries to play this 100% solo eventually gets sick of the game. I'm sorry, like you can't do it. That's again, I'm gonna kind of go down that rabbit hole for a minute. There's some large high sec industrialists who have been very vocal on the Eve forums, on different news outlets saying F this, I've played this game for 10 years and I have my own empire. I've got six Omega accounts that I pay annual subscriptions on, and they each have 50 million skill points, and I've got 4 Athenors that I use for refining, and this is totally going to destroy my immersion in the game, and screw you CCP. Well, yeah, that's going to hurt their money. This game, and you can multi-box. I multi-account this game all the time. I do. Most vets, I think, at one point or another either have or do multi-account, because this isn't a game where one you can do one thing with one person all the time. Sometimes you just need to have 2, right, or more. So with those folks that have, I'm a solo player and I always will be and I'm proud of it. Well, no, you're not. Even if you're a big industrialist and you run those 6 Athenors that you own all by yourself and you're an Eve trillionaire, well, someone has to buy the goods you make. You're not selling them to an NPC. So you right there is, I mean, it sounds kind of hinky, and some people would call, hey Spence, that's bullshit. But even the market games in this game are a form of player versus player interaction and conflict. I mean, when you're bidding on prices for things that you're buying, or you are trying to get the best price you can versus other industrialists for the product or products that you sell, that is a form of PvP, and Eve makes that happen for you. If you are doing it solo and you've been successful at it, well, congratulations, but that time may be coming to an end. It may be coming to an end, and I guarantee you that the majority of industrialists who fly solo in high sec do not hold a candle to the business opportunities that are presented by large industrial corporations that live in nullsec and whatnot, because working together they can do more. Now, for most of the ones in nullsec, a lot of their customers are internal customers. They're selling to their own alliance, they're selling to their own people, they're doing things like that. That's, they kind of have that like company store thing going on where they use a lot of their own stuff. But at the same time, if you want to buy some of the big ass ships in this game, just, and not even if you want to fly it, you just want to be able to sit in it and spin it around and say, I got this, this is mine. There's a decent chance that you are buying that from directly either from one of the large nullsec groups, the SOV groups, or someone associated directly with them. Okay, so you can't just take these guys out of the picture and say, oh, that's, screw that. I'm a solo high sec player and I don't need null sec. Well, guess what? We're one way or another, we're all going to need each other at some point, and either we're going to have to figure out how to work together on this, or someone's going to get steamrolled. And I think the way it's going right now is that there's just going to be a lot of steamrolling, and then once all the dust settles, dust, get it? Dust 514. For those of you that are new to the game, go look that up. It'll make sense. Once the dust settles, then we'll see who's still on their feet and who's not. And a lot of it's going to be those who adapt and overcome, or those who can assimilate to the new normal, the new meta. So we'll see. And for the nullsec alliances and the bigger groups, that the larger alliances that are out there, no matter what area of space they're in, they're already planning this. They've been planning it for, since the announcement came out. They're already working on this, and there's a lot of people working on it to figure out how it's going to go, and they're going to be prepared to jump on it. For the smaller groups that are either unaware of it, that's going to be a shame. The groups that are just completely unaware of it are going to get totally blindsided. I can just imagine on the morning of the 12th, once, in the U.S., once all this kicks in and people are logging into their accounts, and in local they're saying like, how come there's only Veldspar in these belts? I don't understand. How come my reprocessing isn't working right? Because I can only get tritanium out of these belts now. So, and then somebody's going to have to link them and say, hey, do you even read the news? Do you, with the pop-up page, like when you're logging in, it's literally right in front of you. You know what I mean? It's literally right in front of you, where it talks about, where is it? I'm trying to find it. I guess it's not even there anymore, but it was for a while, where it says on your little Eve launcher that talks about the redistribution. So, I mean, if you don't know about it and this is your first time you're finding out about it, you might need to go do some research. So, those groups are going to be the ones that get stepped on, I think, the hardest. Those of us that are aware at least know it's coming, so we're prepared for the suck, and then we'll see what happens. So, that is, let me see, what am I at time-wise here? I'm at 33 minutes right now, and, half of that's ums and uhs. But starting to wrap this up, just keep an eye on the news, guys. There's many different news outlets that you can get for Eve, and some of the best, whether you like it or not, the Imperium News Network is one of the best, just because they have dedicated Eve staffers. So that's a big one. Then there's the Eve Online forums. That's a really good source for news. Obviously, the Eve Online website. Just when you go to the forums, you're going to see you got to kind of filter as you're reading those comments. Some of them are very good. Most of them are just bitchy people that, I would say a third of the bitchy ones don't even play the game anymore. They're still on there and they're bitching to bitch. So that's always been every game. Um, some of the big news outlets, the more just game centric ones that talk about every game, they're not even worth reading. The majority of their people writing about it have no clue what they're writing about. They're regurgitating stuff, or they've got someone who's their quote unquote Eve player who literally just sits in a station and spins a ship and hasn't done anything in Eve for years, and they think they're metagaming, but they're really not. All they're doing is collecting likes on their dumbass articles. So stay away from the big names. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. Go to the ones that are actually Eve centric. It's worth it. Go give them your attention. Those guys are actually, whether you like them or not, those guys are dedicating their time to it. Go to Reddit. The Eve subreddit is a great place to get information. Yeah, there's a lot of shit posting, but when you start filtering through it, and most of us gamers have a decent filter. Just filter out the shit you don't wanna look at. Just scroll right past it, and when you see something, a good battle report or whatever, take a look. Somebody's got a CSM tag next to their name, and they post a blog post on Reddit about their thoughts on the redistribution. Go read it. These are the guys that are deep into the meta of Eve, and they're going to give you some good insight. So just kind of throwing that out there. I'm going to try to do these about once a week. I want to get back on a regular schedule for posting, and these will be put out in both video and audio format. So that way, you could always, if you want to listen to it going to work, or if you're having a hard time going to sleep, I know I can put people to sleep easily. So you can just listen to my voice, and it will knock your ass out because I'm boring. We will go back to the original format we had years ago, where I will have a co-host. I just need to find one. My old co-host no longer plays Eve and hasn't for about 6 years, so that ship has sailed. But I will find another co-host, so that way we can have the crossfire opinions and whatnot. And we did a lot of interviews back in the day. We would invite folks on from all different aspects of Eve, and we're going to do that again. We will get back to that. I've had CCP developers on the show. I've had Matani on the show. I've had Elise Randolph on the show, and I think he's doing that talking in stations now. So I mean, you guys hear him all the time. We've had Pro God Legend on the show. There's a lot of big names from that are known around Eve. We've had a lot of them on here. We've had Eve Uni on here. We've had the great, awesome guys from Noir. I love those guys. They were awesome. A lot of faction warfare talks through the years, and now we're just going to be focusing more general Eve talk. So it'll be a little bit of everything. Try to get some of the wormholers in here again too. They were fun to talk to. And we'll see what we can do. I'd also like to. I'm going to probably be reaching out to some of the pirate groups and the Triglavian groups, since those guys are the Triglavians have that whole new aspect of Eve coming out that we don't even know what the hell is coming out now that the 27th system has gone through the liminality or whatever it's called, and I don't know. Are they open up a whole new zone? What's going on there? And then we've got some really good pirate groups out there that do a lot. Some really cool stuff in Eve for PvP, Tuskers, guys like that. So we'll be reaching out to them to try to get them to come on the show and talk. So that's the outlook of this. If you have ideas or comments or questions, feel free to send them to me in game. My name is Aradus Gunnell, AradusGunnell. He's the hooded little Amarian guy who likes to whip his slaves back and forth. Yes, I used to be part of the Fwetic guys. They were awesome. We were part of that alliance for a long time, and I had a lot of fun with it. So, we'll start talking about it. We'll even try to get some of the faction warfare guys, those that still play. I know the faction warfare is still a thing, so I just haven't touched it in a number of years. So we'll get them on here too. Other than that, that's it, guys, for my ODC Doc guys. Thanks for listening. If you have questions, hit me up in Corp Chat, and that's it. Good night.